Alrighty, so we are moving along with a lot of the news and fun stuff of the day. GDC is here, and unfortunately, they made a bit of a mistake. Now, this happened sort of for part 2 of the 10th anniversary, but the reason I did not cover it was because we had a social media post made from Dokkan saying, like, do not share what was shown accidentally on social media, and I was like, let me just not do a YouTube video on this because, you know, I value being able to share information for the future rather than just having like one big video talking about a leak. So that is why I sort of just like said, okay, whatever, we're gonna move on, we're not gonna talk about this. I'm gonna say in the videos we know what part 2 is, but I'm not gonna say like what it is or like, you know, how it was found, because again, it was just leaked in the data, and technically we're not supposed to be able to see the data, but the game knows that we can see this stuff. Like, they know we look into the data download, right? So just keep that in mind. But in this case here, we have the part 2 leak for it's not even really a leak in this case. It technically is, but we have part 2 being GT. Now, what you're looking at on the screen is from burst mode. Now, if you guys don't know, in the burst mode tab, you can go look at Dokkan events and buy specific OSTs for them. And somebody jumped the gun a bit over behind the scenes and put the updated image for Omega Shenron into the Omega Dokkan event for a burst mode. So now we know that GT is going to be part 2. More than likely, I can't imagine that, you know, they drop an Omega Shenron and his counterpart isn't GT. So that's how we know. And again, this was not an illicit method that they mentioned in the first one. You know, this was not done via a data download. This wasn't done via looking into the things, no hacking or anything like that. It was just, they put it in there. If you went into the burst mode tab, you were able to see this, and here it is. So part 2, this does indicate quite a bit. You guys can see with Omega here, he is going to be the Dokkan Fest for part 2, because if you look around, you can kind of see like little borders, right? This is Tech Vegito Blue. This is Int Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. I believe this is the Turles Dokkan event right here. You can kind of see his wristbands. This is Turles' little gauntlet there. And so that, and I believe this is AGL UI right here. So we now know that these are Dokkan events, and if you are getting a new Dokkan event, that means you are the Dokkan Festival. So this means for part 2, the Dokkan Fest is going to be Omega, and then the Carnival is more than likely going to be some form of Goku and Vegeta that either fuse into G4, or it is like an active skill like Vegito Blue. Now, I don't want it to be that case, but if we look at part 1 and part 2, or part 1, both of the characters do not fuse. So I'm just going off of what we know. I'm not doom posting. I want them to fuse, but I think that is going to be the case. So the fact that we know this is going to be GT for part 2, more than likely, unless this was just like a one-off complete fluke, I'm willing to be wrong about this, that does mean a lot. You guys can see we got a lot of tabs pulled up here, and we're going to be talking about them one by one. So first and foremost, the GT Heroes team. It does lead for some interesting conversations. I should have also pulled up Giant 8 Power, but we'll do that in a moment. This is pretty big for this team, obviously. A new GT hero, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, is something that the team desperately needs at this point to become relevant again, because if you look at the GT Heroes team, it's 1, 2, right? And then you kind of have some other interesting cases here. Tech Pan, 3, 4, excuse me. Tech Pan, due for her Easy A any day now. Probably not going to be during this celebration. I can't imagine that they, I'm sure the person who is, you know, asking for the Pan video still watch these videos, I hope, but I don't think Pan is going to be part of this anniversary. She would be too good, right? She'd break the game. So, but looking at this right here, we've got Int Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. His Easy A is like pretty set in stone, in my opinion. They waited for a big moment to do it, and boy, did they nail it, I think. GDC Part 2, this guy getting his Easy A, that's hype. But looking at characters that are going to be getting the most buff from a new Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, obviously, these guys, especially if they fuse, they'll be sharing a name, or they'll be link partners, or probably 7 links. And this guy having a partner that's not himself and sharing all of those links is going to be massive for this character in specific, because this guy, like, they're really good, but you don't really want to run 2 of them, because you're running them on the year 10 team based on the percentages from the leader skill. So right off the bat, if it's like a GT Heroes 220%, hopefully it's not, but it's definitely not impossible. They're going to work together really, really well. And another character that's going to be sort of in play here is also going to be this guy, right? Not for an EZA or anything, but he just gets a lot of help from another Super Saiyan 4 character. So hopefully he kind of slides in as like the slot 1 for Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and then he's going to have access to this extra damage reduction support, and these teams are just going to start looking really, really nice, right? Like this guy, if that Gogeta, or the alleged Gogeta, ends up being like the best unit in the game, this guy's leader skill value goes up so much if you're not going to be running 2 of that new Gogeta in theory, right? Because that team is going to have you, right? We're going to have this version of Vegeta right here, Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, the GT Golden Week characters in Super Saiyan 4 Gogetas, EZA, assuming he were to get one, 2 more characters we'll be talking about later, as well as the new character. Like, this team all of a sudden is just like, it's back, like all the way back, right? This team is going to be looking so damn good. Now, something else we need to talk about is going to be the Super EZAs that I think we would potentially get during Part 2. These are the 2 most anticipated GT Super EZAs by a long shot, so just keep that in mind. I think these characters are going to look really good with their Super EZAs, and the Giant 8 Power team is just all of a sudden going to be like a monster competitor, in my opinion, based on the fact that we're going to have a GDC 2025 level character as part of it, as well as some Super EZAs and a TUR EZA we'll be looking at in a moment. We talked about him a minute ago, but this is just like such an easy setup for them. Where I just think it's going to be pretty simple for it to be like an absolutely insane team. And Super Saiyan 4 is a fan favorite team, and not, well, a fan favorite form, excuse me. And you know what that means? It means we have an easy lane, right? Just like a nice straight path for Super Saiyan 4 Daima Goku. Whenever he may be, the team is going to be in an even better spot than it potentially would have been a year ago, right? Or during the 10th anniversary, right? Where we were kind of talking about like, oh, they just need that 6th character. But now, not only are we going to have that 6th character with the new unit that's coming out, but we also have a window that is now opened for 2 new Super EZAs to be added to the team, another TUR EZA that's going to be insanely good for the team, and you're all of a sudden looking at 7 to 8 options for that team. So where if you don't have all of these characters, you could potentially run a different setup, and you are going to absolutely be in business. Now, when it comes to the major EZA of the celebration, or not of the celebration, but of this specific part, what everybody's been looking for, to me, it's the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta right here. This guy, this release date is not the JP release date. He came out a little bit closer to October of 2020. So on JP, he is almost 5 years old, and this would completely explain why they've been waiting to do this EZA, because of the fact that we have this guy coming up, right? Where it's like, okay, we have a GT GDC planned for Part 2, and he would really kind of anchor it down and be one of the most anticipated EZAs, and this would definitely get the fans hyped. So I'm happy to see this, right? This is a really good sign that he's going to be getting, more than likely getting his EZA during the celebration, but it's more of the GT hero stuff that I'm excited about. But keep in mind, we're also getting a GT boss, right? What this is kind of confusing for me here, assuming that it's just a standalone Omega. Like, what does that mean for this guy? Like, where does he go? Because he came out in mid 2023 on JP, and I would assume that they're not going to share a name, or they're going to share a name. So that would mean that this guy's just kind of like off in La La Land. Like, what are we supposed to do here with this character, right? So that is a bit interesting to me. I don't really know what the plan is here with this guy. Definitely not going to be EZAing. He's like, you know, especially on global, he's not even close to 2 years old yet. So just keep that in mind. Not going to be the best character in the world here. But again, with this team, he can't just lead GT bosses, and he won't, because he's going to be a Dokkan Fest, right? The Dokkan Fest from Part 1 had 2 category leads, and then they're going to be a 250. So he's going to be like one of our first extreme class year 10 leads, right? Because we look at the 250s and stuff like that, and during Part 2, or during the 10th anniversary, our Dokkan Festival LRs were both superclass, and in this case, right, in the GDC, the other Part 1 Dokkan Fest was also a superclass league. So this is going to be like the first villain Dokkan Fest LR of the year, right? Yeah. So it's going to be pretty interesting how they set it up. Now, could it be an Ice and Nova or something, or could it be a Sin that transforms? It's possible, but I'm not really too sure, because looking at this doesn't really give us much, right? Like this is just what we have to work with right now, so don't really overthink it. It's just what we have. So moving forward, I think this means, especially if you are a Super Saiyan 4 fan, you need to be conscious of how you're using your stones in Part 1. I would definitely recommend that you stay away from going to 0, right? Like using all of your stones in part 1. I would definitely recommend kind of erring on the side of caution. If you pull the blue boys early, you get the Zamasu and Goku Black early, you can just go ahead and slow down a bit. And because I'm sure a lot of you would be more hyped for a G4 than you would be for a Vegito Blue or a Fusion Zamasu. So those are all sort of the things that we need to know about the part 2 leak. It's unfortunate that this did happen. Not really what we're looking for. We would prefer to just not know what it is so there's actual discussion, but it does sort of rip the band-aid off and people don't have to argue about little context clues and stuff like that, and we don't have to cope for Daima for the rest of the celebration. We kind of just know like a cool Super Saiyan 4 is coming, and I think a lot of people still prefer this version of Gogeta to Daima Super Saiyan 4 Goku. So a Super Saiyan 4 form with red hair, and we're still getting it in some way, shape, or form. So let me know down below what you guys think of the part 2 leak and all of that fun stuff. I am recording this on the day of the banners dropping, so I will be live later tonight. Look forward to that. And I will see you guys there. So leave a like if you enjoyed this one. Subscribe if you're new so you don't miss out on any of the content I'm posting during GDC. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.